I'll look at the chat maybe like briefly in case there's anybody who's just maybe a bit shy to ask their question out loud. You prefer to write it in the chat, but I'll mostly be looking at the raised hands because it's just kind of hard to manage everything. So yes, I'll just go with the first person. We'll get right to it. And if there's some questions that I can point you to like web pages or whatever, that's why I kind of have shared my screen, but I'll stop sharing for now. But I'll do that if I can help. So Mia, are you able to unmute yourself?
Yes, hi.
Yes, okay, perfect. Hi, Mia.
Hi. So I was wondering, my dad is going to be my source of financial support. Um, and for the visa application, he was wondering, like, is it required to have like a letter stating that he's my financial sponsor and then like his bank statements? Like, is
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
adequate?
Yeah, so I don't know if you're talking about for the CAQ or for the study permit. If it's for the CAQ, not everybody has to show financial support at that stage of the process. Although if you're currently residing in the US or Canada or France, there's a list of countries, then you do have to provide it. For the Quebec CAQ, there's a declaration of financial support form that your parent can sign. And then
Mm.
also they have to provide their financial proof information. So that can be various things, but like a very standard thing is to provide for the four most recent bank statements.
Mhm.
It can be a combination. It could be a bank letter and bank statements. I would hesitate to say that a bank letter alone, like confirming the balance in X account or accounts, is sufficient. It's always safer to, in addition to a bank letter, let's say, to have the 3 or 4 most recent bank statements. For the study permit application, there's no standard form. So, but yes, it's a good idea to sign it, have the parent or whoever is providing that financial support to sign and date a letter, explain what the relationship is between the student and the person providing the financial support, explain what you're providing it for, like tuition and fees and living expenses for the duration of the student's studies. And then it's we recommend that students also include their own little cover letter, indicate what program you've been admitted to, how much it's going to cost, tuition and fees for the first year of studies, and how you're paying. Sometimes if you're relying on multiple sources, multiple bank accounts, it's good to have a little bulleted list, sometimes a table. We have information in our CAQ and study permit application guides. So I'll just drop those links in the chat because they are really, I'll just send the applying one and you can find the CAQ and study permit application guides. And I think in some of them, they'll say like your cover letter should kind of include this information. Some of you may be applying from a region that has visa office instructions specific to your region that may have more questions that they're asking you to provide answers to, like a statement of purpose, that kind of thing. So just make sure to check the visa office instructions for your region in addition to whatever document checklist you get for the study permit. Mia, did that answer the question or?
Yes, so I should make so my dad should write his own
If it's
cover
for the
letter.
study permit, if it's for the study permit,
Yes.
if it's for the CAQ, then it's just a declaration of financial support form. If it's for the study permit, then yes, it can't hurt. Like, is it always necessary? Not always, but I can't, if you want it to be safer and more cautious, then yes, it doesn't have to be long. It should be as, kind of concise as you can make it. But basically what immigration officers want to know is that you have enough money to pay for at least your first year of studies. That's tuition and fees plus living expenses. And the living expenses that you should all be relying on, the amount is the one provided by Immigration Quebec, and I'm putting it in the chat, even if it's for the study permit application. Quebec, students studying in Quebec go by the Quebec amount, which is 15,508 for one person, plus whatever round trip travel costs there are, plus $500 of settling in expenses. So that's kind of what you should be using as like the minimum that you should be showing.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome, Mia. Tara?
Hi.
Hi.
So I had a question or maybe a few. So I was already a student at McGill. I completed my bachelor's, and then what happened was that I applied for a post-graduation work permit, and then it's still in process. And then in the meantime, I was admitted to a master's program at McGill.
Okay.
So I applied for my new study permit from within Canada. But I was just quite worried, or a little bit worried about the timeline, because right now the processing time has increased by a lot, because I do remember, and also I'm worried
So
about the
Tara,
status.
just Tara, what is your current study permit? When does it expire? Do you have one that's still
It
valid?
No, because that's the reason why I did the post-graduation work permit, because my older passport was going to expire on February 5th, 2025. So that was the deadline for my old study permit and work permit. And so right now, I guess I'm on, I mean, I have the authorization to work and etc.
When did you graduate from your previous degree?
So I finished in December 2024. I applied for my post-graduation work permit before my old study permit expired.
Okay. Okay.
And
it's still
I
processing.
received the, yeah.
Yeah. So Tara, I think it's just so specific. Have you already sent a request for information to us?
No, I thought that was
Yeah,
the
it's just
place
this
I'm
is
asking
kind of
for.
multi-pronged. I need to know more information. I just think it's too I think it's better if you meet one-on-one with an advisor for this particular question. If the issue right now though is that you're under maintained status, right? You've stayed here since February 5th.
Yeah, since before.
Yes. Yeah, or February, whatever, so when your study permit expired. So you know you're in this maintained status while you're waiting, but you can't really apply for a study permit, not an inside Canada application. And like there are options we can look into, but it's just too complicated for me to start giving you like clear, precise advice. It's just so different from everybody else's
Okay,
situation.
because
It'll take like a good 20. Yeah.
Because I was already granted my CAQ. So that's
Okay.
why I thought it was okay to do a study permit application from within Canada, because I'm already inside Canada.
You are, but you're not a worker yet, right? You're still waiting for a decision, or you do have a postgrad work permit?
No, I'm still
Yeah, so
waiting for a decision.
right, so you
But
don't have status, right? Well, I mean, you have a maintained status, but you can't apply. A study permit application is not going to be processed until the first application is approved.
oh, that's
Okay.
bad.
Yeah. So like I said, write to us, send us a request for information, and give us all the details, okay? Of your
Can you please
situation.
give me a link?
Yeah, so if you go to our website, I'm going to find it, contact us, write to ISS. I'm just going to send it for everybody. So this is like the right to contact ISS, and then the request for information form is the link I'm sending just now, Tara. Okay?
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna do
Okay.
that, but I do want to tell you that I already applied for that study permit, so it's obviously not going to work
It's
out.
not, I mean, we'll talk about it, but yeah, the other options would be at this point probably submitting an outside application, outside Canada. This is most likely, but I don't want to advise you right now personally. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. You're welcome. Sorry, number 2, Maria Jose?
Yes.
Jose? Yes,
Yeah,
hi.
Maria Jose, it's okay. Thank you, Kai.
Okay, hi. I'm sorry, did I
Hi.
skip Anna? It might have been Anna first. I'm sorry, because some people are putting their hands down for me, and sometimes I'm doing it. So I don't want to skip over. I think Anna's first, and then I'll get to you, Maria. Okay, is that okay?
Yeah, it's okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anna? Anna, I'm gonna answer Maria first, and then if you, I'll check in with you again after. So go ahead, Maria. Sorry.
Okay, yeah. I have already received my study permit approval and the port of entry letter, but
Okay.
my master's, I'm going to start the MMA program, and they are requesting that I should have a co-op work permit, but I don't know if they also approve my co-op permit. And I don't know how could I check that because like in the IRCC, they don't tell me anything about the co-op permit.
I'm trying to remember if it appears on the port of entry letter, if there are two things that appear, like a co-op work permit and the study permit. Do you see both on the port of entry
No.
letter of introduction with the validity?
Yes, no, actually in my letter they don't say anything about that. They just say that I should present my letter and nothing else.
So occasionally, even though you request the co-op work permit, it does happen that for whatever reason, the agent that was processing your application failed to approve that. I don't know why that happens, but occasionally we do see that happen. So when you would get to the port of entry, what is the country that you're in right now?
I'm in Ecuador.
Mexico?
Ecuador.
Ecuador, sorry. Because normally you could, I'm trying to think if it's not approved. Listen, you two, Maria, if you could just send through that web form link a copy of your port of entry letter of introduction, okay? And just
Okay.
ask, like, tell us if you did answer yes to the questions that says, do you want to work in Canada? Like, is work an essential part of your program? And you answered yes to all of that. And you uploaded in your document checklist a co-op work permit letter from your faculty.
Okay. Yes, I
Did you
did
do,
that.
did you
Actually,
do
when
that?
I was applying, yes, I did
You
that
did
while I was
you did do
applying
that.
for my
Okay.
study permit.
Right. So send the letter to us. But what might happen is when you get to the port of entry, when you get to the airport and you're showing your port of entry letter of introduction, if they only give you a study permit, say I also applied for a co-op work permit with my application, you can maybe bring a copy of your application with you, where you and your co-op letter. If it's in their system somewhere that it was approved, then they'll give you both at the same time. If not, then let us know as soon as you get here. My understanding is that your mandatory work experience, it doesn't start in your first semester. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
The-
Like I have like 6 months until starting
Right.
the capstone
Okay.
project where we need to have the co-op.
Okay. So you need the co-op work permit to start that project. I mean, that's the main rule. There are like sometimes little exceptions, but in order to work full time during a co-op, yes, you have to have that co-op work permit. So come see us right away if when you arrive here in August, or contact us right away that you didn't get your co-op work permit, and we'll show you how to apply right away from inside Canada for that work permit.
Okay, perfect. Also, I
Okay.
have a question related to this because, like, for example, my study permit ends on the 26th November 2026. But if I choose to like that 16-month MMA pathway with the summer internship, I wouldn't be able to finish the program because my visa is just until November and the program will be finishing on December. In that case, could I like reapply for a study permit for an extension of my study permit while I'm in Canada?
Yes. Yep. And what you'll do is you will, I'm just going to send you the link now, but essentially what you'll have to do is about 6 months before your CAQ and study permit expire, you'll apply for a new CAQ. And then you'll apply for a new study permit. Okay, so you'll need to
Actually, they
extend that
say
CAQ first.
yeah.
Sorry?
My CAQ is until 2027. So I don't have problem with my
Oh,
CQ. I
okay,
only
okay. So
have
it's
problems
just the
with
study
my visa.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. Is it because your passport expires sooner or no? Normally the study
No.
permit is issued. No. I don't know why they did that unless they were really looking at the length of your program, and I don't know why Immigration Quebec would have given you more. Normally this IRCC just simply issues the study permit with the same expiration date as the CAQ. But occasionally it's different. So yeah, you'll be able to use that same CAQ. You should be, and you just apply to extend your study permit with some kind of proof that you are like why you need it until then. So you might have like a letter from your department that confirms that like you've switched into the internship requirement, the extra internship option, and they'll indicate your expected graduation date there and proof that you're enrolled. We can help you through there, but essentially, yes, you will just apply to extend your study permit from inside Canada before it expires. You have to submit that application before your current one expires. So I just put the link for you, Maria, in the chat.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anna?
Hi, yes, sorry. Can you hear
No
me
worries.
now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. My question was about the visa office. I'm a bit worried that I might have selected the wrong one. I don't know if that's even possible, but I selected, I don't know if I can say, but a certain one in Europe, and then later on, so it was the Vienna one, and then later on I saw on the website about the study permit. When I select my country of residence, that it directs me to the document from London visa office. So I don't know if this is a problem and if it's something that I should do something about.
So are you talking about in the CAQ application with Immigration Quebec in the online questionnaire where it asks you where will you be applying for your study permit?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the very first step, it was, yeah.
Right. Yeah, it shouldn't really matter if it's Vienna or London. I don't think it really, I'm trying to think if it's because I think Immigration Quebec just sends some kind of confirmation to IRCC, but really what they're going to be looking at when the study permit phase comes is, do you have a valid CAQ? And you will upload that in your document checklist. So it shouldn't really matter, what you wrote on the CAQ questionnaire.
Okay, and then for the study permit, will I have to follow the Vienna document or the London one? Because that's the one that shows up on the website when I look at which documents I need to prepare.
But where are you applying from?
From Norway.
From Norway. To be honest, for most of Europe, just uploading what appears on the document checklist is normally sufficient. I'm just going to see CC study permit, apply. Like Canada. Online. Visa office instructions. Yeah, so you would go with the London ones.
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful.
You're welcome.
I have another question, but I can also wait for the others.
You can ask your question. You can ask.
Okay, because I'm just trying to prepare my documents and everything for the study permit, so I can apply as soon as the CAQ comes through. And I saw that there was one question where it says, is work going to be a large part of your studies? And I was wondering for the PhD, since there's TAing included.
No,
okay,
no,
the answer is no.
So no, it's really, so that question, everybody, and it's a very good question. And I'm going to share I'm going to share my screen because I think it's an important one for everybody. Might have similar questions. Does everybody see the ISS webpage? Or you can just, I don't know, someone can write it in the chat if you can see it. But basically, if you go to, yeah, okay, great. So if you go to immigration tab and then applying for documents and then the study permit application guide, how to apply. Just see here. Here. There's a question on the online eligibility questionnaire. This is before your document checklist is generated. And it says, is work an essential component of your studies? You should only answer yes if you are in a program that has a mandatory internship, stage, field work component. And I know it's tricky because of PhD students, I guess most of you are expected to TA, to be teaching assistants or maybe research assistants, but that doesn't fall under, you should not answer yes if that's the case for you if you're a grad student. Only answer yes, for example, if you're like a Bachelor of Engineering student in a mining and materials program that has like mandatory practicums, or you're a Bachelor of Nursing student and you have mandatory clinical internship, stage, they call them different things, or you're like a Bachelor of Education student for like elementary or high school ed, and you're going to be placed in a school and like everybody in your program has to do that, then you would answer yes for that. And you would also know that because your program will, or your faculty or department will have given you already, they should have a co-op work permit letter. So it's a letter from your faculty that confirms that you're in a program that has a mandatory work component and that you need a co-op work permit for that. And then in your document checklist, there's going to be a spot where you upload proof of that co-op. For people who are in grad, who are like a PhD student and you have a TA-ship that you have to do, normally you should be able to do that as per the conditions of the regular study permit. So all of you, when you get a study permit issued to you at your port of entry, it will have remarks there that say, you can work on or off campus as per, the regulations. And what that means is as long as you are registered full-time, you can work on campus for an unlimited number of hours per week and off campus for a maximum of 24 hours per week. So for undergrad students and non-thesis master's students, that means to be considered full-time, to allow you to work, you have to be registered and attempting at least 12 credits per term. If you are a thesis student, so master's thesis or PhD student, as long as you are registered, doesn't matter for how many credits, you're considered full-time. So you can do that TA-ship as long as you're registered. You should be able to do it as per the conditions of your study permit. So I would say, if you're curious to know about work, like on our website, if you go to work and permits, I'll just put that link there, but there are subheadings for on-campus work and off-campus work, and they also link to IRCC's webpage. So I hope that answers your question, Anna.
Yes, thank you very much. And
You're
last
welcome.
question
Yeah.
was, do you have an estimate for the study permit, how long it usually takes? Or is it very difficult to say?
So all I can say is that there are IRCC posts estimated processing times. So I have it, I'm there right now. I don't know if you see the check processing times, but basically you have to select temporary residence and then study permit. Most of you are outside Canada. And then where are you applying from? So, if I choose Norway, it's saying no processing time available. There are a few countries that have said that. I met with a student from Costa Rica the other day, and it said no processing time available, but that student got a decision very quickly. So even though it says no processing time available, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be very long, but they're estimates only. It can take longer than it says, and it can take shorter. So unfortunately, I can't predict. I would say what people should really be mindful of are, McGill's key dates. and I'm going to put them in the chat for everybody. But basically, be aware of, what is the course, obviously in an ideal world, everybody will be here in time for like move in time for orientation, in time for the first day of classes. That is the ideal situation. Every year there are a number of students who they don't get their documents in time and sometimes arrive a little bit late. We don't really recommend that people try to start, after they've missed, more than a week of classes. And then definitely like ideally by the course ad drop deadline, you would want to have started. Things move very quickly at McGill. And then obviously be aware of like, what's the deadline to withdraw? What's the deadline to withdraw with a refund? Like these are things that you will want to be aware of. And also, what is the deadline to request a deferral to a future term? These are things you want to kind of keep in mind as August creeps in. And if you're still waiting, you might have to, have conversations with your departments to figure out like what are your options at that point. Yeah, so sorry, I wish I could be more. I wish I had a crystal ball, but all we can go with is the times, and they change. It might say France is taking 2 weeks and then 3 weeks, and I checked yesterday it was 5 weeks, and again it's just kind of an average, and it's not reflective like of each individual. But I'm going to move on to Saloni.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
How are you? I have a question, and this might also be considered a very specific question, but I guess I'll just like go ahead and you can tell me. My case is very similar to Tara's, wherein I'm in Canada and I'm on my work permit. My work permit expires in August, August 5th, and I have applied for my CAQ and I haven't gotten it yet.
Okay.
And the study permit processing times when I was coming back from my home city in April, processing times were 2 weeks from inside of Canada, and now it's 14
Yes.
weeks.
And now it's 14, right? Something terrible like that.
Yeah, and I don't even know how to comprehend that. Like I do know what 14 weeks even means.
Yeah.
So for me, I do still have another option of waiting till I get my CAQ and I go back home, which is in Nigeria. And I apply for my study permit from there because processing times there are 6 weeks. And that still gives me enough time to come back for orientation.
Yeah, so there are different, you're a citizen of Nigeria, resident of Nigeria?
Resident of Nigeria. I'm a citizen of India, but a resident of Nigeria.
Okay, and do you know, I mean, you probably checked more recently than me. Do you know where the processing times are shorter?
So in India, it's 4 weeks, but I do also know that like India and Canada are having relations that are not the strongest right now. And I have people who work close to stuff like this in India, and I know they're extremely understaffed in India. So I don't know how accurate those processing times are. Nigeria is definitely the more reliable option.
Mm-hmm.
Because India is 4 weeks.
But you're not a citizen of Nigeria, is that right?
Yes, I'm not a citizen, I'm a resident.
Okay.
I have a
Okay.
good,
Okay. You have like a legal status there?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Yes, I was going to say, I'm just not sure if you can apply, because there's one option for some people, and I don't want to get too deeply into it, but you can apply. This is only, doesn't work the other way, but you can apply while you're physically in Canada as if you are in a country outside of Canada to kind of, because you're not eligible to apply from here, or because the processing times are way longer here, whatever, depending on your reason. So when you're answering like the questionnaire, you say that you're in the other country, but then on the IMM 1294 form and you in an attached cover letter, you explain your actual situation and like, actually, I'm here. I have a valid PGWP. It expires on whatever. I've been admitted to McGill. I'm submitting, I indicated in the questionnaire that I was outside of Canada, but actually I'm here, but I'm submitting the outside application for this reason. And for you, it's really because processing times from inside Canada are very long right now. Courses start August 27th, let's say, and processing times in Nigeria or in India are much shorter. The only reason I hesitate to say, so yes, you could go back and do it from Nigeria. if it's inconvenient for you to leave right now, you could submit the application now. But once it's approved, you have to leave Canada to a non-US international destination and return in order to get that study permit issued to you. Do you see what
Okay.
I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of, you could do it, you know, if you're a citizen of India, then you can say, like, I'm a citizen of India, I want my application processed in India. If you want it processed in Nigeria, but you're not physically there when you submit it, I'm just not sure if you're allowed to do that. If you're there, you can do it. If you're
Yeah.
not there, I guess you could explain and show your proof of what your status is there, but I'm not 100% sure, Solani. So maybe if you're thinking of, if you want to ask if you can do it from Nigeria, but you're not actually there when you do it, maybe send us a request for information. If you're going to go back to Nigeria and submit it from there, then yes, you can do it from there. And it might be worth doing. But you'd
Yeah.
have to probably, you would want to go sooner rather than later in case it doesn't actually take 6 weeks.
Yes. And the thing right now is my CAQ is supposed to come on the 22nd of June or the end of June. And I have a feeling that it's not going to be within the 25 business days that they have told me, because that's just, yeah.
Taking, I mean, for some students, it's taking 25 business days, and for others, it's taking 5, 6 weeks, like 6, 7, 8 weeks. It really varies, so I can't say what it'll be for you.
Yes. So I'm just waiting on that, and once I have that, like, I'm still in the process of collecting everything
Okay.
for this.
Yeah.
I'll do all of that, so there's no like space between the
Right.
time.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other question was, since, and again, I think I know the answer to this, but I just want to make sure. So my work permit expires 5th of August, and then I will be put on maintained status. And my
5th of
study permit,
August?
yes.
5th of August. Okay.
And then I will be put on maintained status. Is there a way for me to begin classes if I'm still in Canada and my study permit is being
No,
processed?
so you'll only benefit from maintained status, Saloni, if you submit an application from inside Canada, like an inside Canada application for something like study permit, while you are here, and you do that before August 5th, and you do not leave Canada from August 5th onwards, okay, then you can benefit from maintained status while you're waiting for decision. But you cannot start studying because you don't already have a study permit. You're changing from worker to student. So you actually have to have that approval, the study permit extension approval, before you could start studying.
Is there a way for me to get that?
To get what? Like, let's say you apply from inside Canada to extend your
Yeah.
study. Well, it's an IMM 5709 application. Okay.
Okay.
If you do that from inside Canada, you'll benefit from maintained status in the sense that you can remain here. Okay. You're not going to be out of status on August 6th, but you cannot do anything really. You can't work and you can't study until that application is approved. And like you said, the application times have really increased.
Okay.
Whether or not those are accurate, I can't tell you. But no, you can't study while you're waiting. The only benefit it will give you if you submit it before it expires is that you can stay here without being out of status.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So I think the best option would be to go back home as soon as the CAQ is here.
It might be, like I said, if for whatever reason you couldn't leave right away, you could do that outside Canada application. But yes, it might be better to just go back, apply from there, and hopefully it gets approved before the end of August, and then you come back.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay, all right. I'm just going to answer 2 questions really quickly. Well, I'll hold on. I see the questions in the chat, but I'll get to people who haven't asked any questions yet. So Bushra.
Hi.
Hi.
I have a question about my CAQ. So I applied for my CAQ, but I received an intention of refusal because my passport didn't have a signature. And the intention of refusal said that I should upload my passport on Arima, but when I go to Arima, there is no way no link for me to upload my passport. Like the link for attached document is not active anymore. So I don't know
Not
where I
active
should,
anymore. Is it because you can't see where to do it? Or I wish I don't want to ask you to share your share your screen with all these people on the call, but sometimes you have to, okay, so when you go in, is it that you see the little paperclip button, but you can't click on it? Is that what's happening?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, what if are you in there now?
Yes.
Okay, is there another button that says like save?
Yes, there is a save button.
Okay, what happens when you click on save? Does it then unlock the paperclip?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yes?
thank you. Thank you. Yes,
You're
yeah,
welcome.
it's
Okay,
unlocked.
I just randomly figured that out one day. So yeah, so it should be okay now.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay,
so
great. Thank you so much.
just make sure, Bushra, that whatever it is that you're submitting to Immigration Quebec, you upload everything. Maybe it's just that one thing. But I think it's probably two things, right? They want to see the signature page, and just make sure that the signature on the passport, like now you've signed it, it exactly matches your signature on the declaration commitments and authorization form, the DCA form. They have to look exactly the same. So what you might want to do just to be safe is upload the passport signature page, plus upload again your DCA form where they can really see that they match. And then once you've uploaded those things, you can only press submit one time. There's only one sending that you can do. Like if you forget something after you press submit, you can't add it at that point. This goes for everybody who gets an intention to refuse letter. Make sure all the things that you want to send are all uploaded before you click submit.
Okay. So I'm gonna submit that form and my passport and then attach it because they
if
only
that's all
ask
they're
for
asking for, then yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Great. Thank you so much. It was very helpful.
You're so welcome. Okay. David.
Hello.
Hi,
So
David.
I just got my visa, but the category says worker instead of a student. I wasn't asked to upload the application for student permit outside of Canada during the IRCC process, and I also didn't receive a letter of introduction, just the visa. So for context, I previously studied in Canada, and I do have a valid PGWP. So can I still get my student permit at the port of entry, or do I need to submit a new application with
it sounds to me that perhaps you applied for the wrong thing. Like maybe you only applied for a TRV, a temporary resident visa. Not possible?
I do apply, but
what form?
when I answered,
your document checklist when you thought you were applying for the study permit? Your document checklist, where did you apply from? From Canada or from another country?
from outside Canada.
From outside Canada. Did you upload an IMM 1294 form?
No.
No,
for student permit,
right.
no, just the
5257 form?
Just the temporary resident visa, but those were the ones that I asked to upload.
You must have completed the online questionnaire maybe wrong.
I did double check all the answers, and they are
but you must have
correct.
gotten the wrong, at the end when a document checklist is generated for you, it was the wrong, it was the wrong document checklist. So if you go to, I'm assuming this is what happened. So yeah, that's the TRV. You can't study with that. So you're gonna have to apply for a study permit. David, do you see the screen I'm sharing? Do you want to come to Canada or extend your stay? Okay. So you go to check your eligibility. And your PGWP, it's valid until when?
2027.
2027. So let's see. What would you like to do in Canada? You said study?
Yes.
Okay. How long? More than 6 months? Let's say, what's your country of
Mexico.
citizenship? Mexico. And then I'm just going to answer pretend things, okay? But you were in Mexico and you applied, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just going to say no. I'm just going to choose something, okay? And then find out if you're eligible to apply. So do you have a
Yes, I
provincial
already have my
attestation letter? So
CAQ.
yes, okay. Quebec. I'm going to say no.
No.
Yes. Yes. I'm just going to do that. Quebec. Okay. Continue. Continue. Do you have a valid work permit or study permit and need a visa to return to Canada? I think this is where you probably went
Yes.
wrong.
Yes, I put
Because
yes
it's kind
because
of assuming,
I do
right,
have a valid work permit.
but I know, but I think you gotta say no.
Yes, actually, I
Okay,
did a test, like answering with that with no, and I do get like the application for a student permit at the end.
that's what you had to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what you have to do. And then what you can also do is on the IMM 1294 form, it might say, it might not even ask you, but if it doesn't ask you anything about like what status you have in Canada, because it probably won't if you're doing an outside Canada application, include a cover letter where you just briefly explain your situation. And you can also put a copy of your PGWP in there just to like show like, you know, please note that I studied in Canada before. I currently have a postgrad work permit, but now I've been admitted to X program. It starts August, whatever. I'm now applying for a study permit from outside of Canada. I answered. You can even say something like, you know, please note that on the check your eligibility questionnaire on that particular question, you can quote the question that you answered no, because, you know, when I answered yes, I have a work permit, it did not generate the correct document checklist for me. Okay.
Okay. So this visa that I got is basically useless.
I mean, no, it's that like you can use it to travel to Canada. Maybe what you can say, but when does it expire, David? The TRV?
In 2027, like the same date as my PGWP.
PWP, right. And what program did you get admitted to? Like, well, how long is the PhD,
so it has
right?
to be until
So you want to
2029.
have a new TRV, ideally. You can use the TRV that you have until it expires, but really I would say, you know, just mention that like, please also like make sure you also fill out a new 5257 form and say like, you know, my current TRV expires in 2027. Please also issue me a TRV that matches the end date of my new study permit. And they'll ask you to mail your passport in again.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
That's very helpful. Yes, perfect.
Okay,
Thanks.
David. All right. Bye-bye. So before I go to number 2, I'm just gonna, so quickly, I see Mia has a question and it might, other people might be interested in this answer. So the question is, to upload a scanned passport for the online study permit, do we have to get that notarized? No, you do not. In addition, are there any documents we do have to get notarized? So like the general answer is no. If you, I don't know, some people, depending on where they are, might want to, it's not mandatory usually, but like, let's say they want an affidavit with regards to their financial, maybe they've had a refusal in the past, so they're trying to be like very, very careful. Or, you know, if your documents are in a different language, then it has to be translated by a certified translator. But like in general, no, documents don't need to be notarized. I can't think of any that need to be notarized. Also, if we're in the US and we apply online for the study permit, but say we don't hear back in time, can we go to the border in August and reapply in person? I would say normally, yes, you can. Like you would just have to explain to the officer and they might already know and say, hey, you've already applied. And you say, yes, I know I applied and I was hoping I'd get it in time, but it's still processing and I don't want to be late for the start of classes, etc. And so you'll just ask like, can I just apply now? And you'll pay again. So as long as you understand that like you'll have to pay again, once they issue you that study permit, which hopefully they will, you can at that point cancel or withdraw that pending online application. It's probably too late to get a refund though. So just be aware of that. And then, right. So this is a really important question that Anna has asked. So I don't know if you're talking about what method, but I think the question is like, let's say your study permit application online is processing. It's almost move-in time. It's almost August 27th, almost start of classes, and your study permit application is still processing, but you have an ETA that allows you to travel here. Or maybe you have a valid entry visa in your passport because you got one prior to this, like to be a tourist, or you studied here before. I don't know. Can you just come to Canada if you've got that ETA or you have that valid TRV, but your study permit application is still processing? And the big answer that we say is don't do it. Because if you do travel with that, and let's say you are allowed to enter Canada, you are not authorized to study. So it will be very tempting once you are here to just go to class. But you're not authorized to do that until you have a valid study permit. And the risks of studying with that, and then let's say your study permit is approved. Now you've got to leave Canada and re-enter. And now you've studied without authorization. You're going to have to disclose that on every future application. You're going to have to disclose that when you come to the border again. They might even ask you because they'll see that you entered in August and now you left in middle of September and you're coming back in. So you're setting yourself up for possible refusal of the application, possible 6 month, let's say it's already been approved, but they might still deny you entry. They might impose a 6-month ban where you can't apply for a study permit for a period of 6 months from the date that you stopped the unauthorized study. They could impose a 1-year exclusion order where you cannot even be in Canada for at least a year. And if you don't disclose any unauthorized study, they could impose a 5-year exclusion order for misrepresentation. So on you can watch our the recording. I'll just share it here because in case people missed the not trying to scare people, but I just want everyone to know like the real risks. If you go to programs, is it there? View completed webinar recordings. I'm just going to put this in the chat. But if you watch any of the, I guess the most recent pre-arrival webinar recording for Immigration Essentials, I'm not sure. And here's the presentation. I think you have to log in to access them. But the recording link is here. And we talk about travel, Immigration Essentials. The recording is here. Oops. Sorry, guys. Anyways, so that's the recording there. And we talk about like, don't come. Every year we have a few students who try to do this and it really doesn't turn out well for some of them. We had several students get 6-month bans last fall who did kind of that thing where they came, they started, their permit was approved, their application, so they left, they tried to come back in, and then they got the 6-month ban. So really don't advise. So sorry, I will go now to Aude. Oh, sorry, Clady? Clady, I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name.
No worries, no worries. Thank you for hosting this, Nicole.
No worries.
So I had a question similar to two of the previous students. So I luckily received my CAQ last week, and I'm planning to apply for my study permit at the moment. So I'm residing in Canada on a PGWP as a worker, and my PGWP expires in about 3 weeks. And I was planning initially to apply for a study permit inside of Canada, but the processing times changed to 14 weeks, and that's too long, and I might not make it for my program if I apply inside Canada. So I was thinking of sending an application for a study permit outside of Canada back home, where the processing time is 6 weeks, and that has been consistent for the past 3-4 months that I've checked while residing in Canada. my question is, so after I submit my study permit, for outside of Canada while residing in Canada, like, am I still allowed to reside in Canada after my
No,
PGWP expires, or do I have to
no.
leave and go back home?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I'm glad you asked it. And hopefully, the other two people who are also in Canada on PGWPs are listening still. But no, the only thing that gives you maintained status here is submitting an inside Canada application for something. So either a study permit, visitor, but no, submitting an outside Canada study permit application does not give you any maintained status here. So it's really important for all those PGWP holders who have their PGWP expiring this summer is that by or before the date your PGWP expires, you have to do something. Either you submit a study permit application from inside Canada, which will not allow you to start your studies until you actually get the approval, and, or you leave Canada before that date. And you leave and you apply from outside. I mean, that really is, yeah, there's no maintained status if you apply from outside.
Okay. Because
Yeah.
I initially was thinking of sending the application for outside of Canada while I'm still here, and then after sending the study permit application outside of Canada while residing in Canada, I was thinking of applying for visitor record.
You could try to do that with an explanation. You could do that, and then, once the other one is approved, you could, and explain everything that you're doing. Like, I've submitted an outside application, but I want to remain in Canada until like it's approved. The thing is that, IRCC probably won't even get to your visitor record request, visitor extension application. So make sure you don't apply for a TRV though, because that's not going to give you any maintained status. It really has to be the visitor extension with an explanation. And then, once your outside Canada application is approved, at that point you could leave and then come back in.
Okay, so even if I do that, I would still have to leave to receive
You wouldn't have
these.
to leave. You would have to leave to get the study permit because it's not going to be mailed to you. If you submit an outside Canada study permit application, you will get a port of entry letter of introduction, just like everybody else. And you have to be returning to Canada from like a non-US, because you're already in Canada, you can't like flagpole. So we've heard that even if like you were to fly to New York and fly back, or drive to New York and drive back, it could be considered flagpoling. So you can't do that. You'd have to go to some non-US international destination, and then upon re-entry, showing your port of entry letter of introduction, then you would get your new study permit.
Okay, thank you. And so if I were to like go with the route of applying for the visitor record, like, is there a potential for that visitor record, for example, application to be, for example, rejected later on?
I mean, if it's, so I would say once your study permit application has been approved, leave and re-enter. Once you leave, at that point, you can cancel your visitor record application with a little explanation. I don't need it anymore. I've left. My study permit application has been approved. Okay, so that way, less chance it'll be refused too, because you're gonna cancel it before a decision is made, let's say, presumably. Could it be refused while you're waiting for the study permit application? For sure, it could be. But if it's refused, then let us know right away. But what that would mean is if it's refused after your postgrad work permit has expired, at that point, you're out of status. Okay, but you can leave and come back once your study permit application is approved.
Okay, thank you.
You're
I have a few
welcome.
questions regarding like the CAQ letter. They're quick questions. So what's the document number of the CAQ PAL?
C00. It's the same as the CAQ. But for these questions, I'm going to really direct, because I'm pretty sure this is all in our guide. So if I go to the CAQ application guide, required documents, and it goes to,
I think it's the number of dossier, something like that. Because so I'm feeling like the form for the study permit application, not and it's asking for the document number of the CAQ PAL, and there are like 3 numbers that I received on my CAQ.
right, and we
There's
tell
like
people to just put the C00 number.
okay, so C okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the expiration date would be like the end date of the
Of the
validity
CAQ.
period.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
And it shouldn't matter, as you mentioned, that the CAQ, when I initially applied, I specified that I will be applying inside of Canada, and now I'm potentially changing my plan to apply outside of Canada.
It shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter.
Okay, thank you. And how
Yeah.
recent do
You can
the
say,
study
like, if you're,
permit?
you know, if you want to say, and this goes to the other person who asked the question before about, like, I made a mistake when I was filling out the CAQ questionnaire.
Mhm.
In your study permit application, in your cover letter, you can explain, like, you know, please note when I was applying for the CAQ, either I made a mistake in saying where I was going to be applying for the study permit, or like I've since changed, you know, my situation has changed, so I will be submitting an outside Canada study permit application. Like, you can say, when I was applying for the CAQ, this is what I said, and now, you know, circumstances have changed, or whatever the case may be.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay.
And how recent do these study permit financial documents have to be? Because I got the ones that I used for the CAQ application way in the first week of May, and I was thinking of submitting my study permit application by tomorrow or the next few days. Can I
Yeah,
still
I
use
mean,
the same financial document despite
if
them
it's,
being issued a month and a half ago?
yes, a month and a half ago is fine. Like, we're June now. So if you know, you could do, if we're June now, you could do like May, April, March, February. But if you only have, you know, January, February, March, April, that's okay too.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to
Yeah.
move on just because I really want to
Yeah.
get to all the questions that I
Thank you.
see. And then if there's time at the end, then I'll answer another one. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. You're welcome. Aude?
Hi, I have 2 questions. So first, for the study permit, it is required to have a letter with the tuition fees on it, with the exact amount of tuition fees we are required to pay, the anticipated starting and finishing dates, and the date by which we need to register. But I've already checked on the McGill website where I had to find it, and I didn't find it. And when I had an appointment with, I think it was Oasis, they couldn't tell me where I had to find
Are you
it.
asking what the start date is that you should put?
No, it is said from documents to have a study permit. It is said that the school has to has to provide
Yes, I see.
some kind of
A letter
letter.
of acceptance, that has the start and end date of the program, except the problem is that McGill letters of acceptance don't include the end date of the program. Is that the question, kind of?
Yeah, but we
Yeah.
also have to provide a letter on which we have the number of the exact amount of tuition fees we have to pay.
Right. So our letters of admission don't say that. The letter of acceptance has a link to the tuition fee calculator. So what I would do, Aude, like, what is the program that you are, what's the program?
In political science in the Faculty of Arts. For
And it's a
undergraduate.
Bachelor of Arts undergrad.
Yeah.
And what's your citizenship?
I'm from France.
Okay, so if you see the screen that I'm sharing, and I'll just put the link in the chat, what you'll do is in your application, you'll also include, and you can include it either in the client information section
Okay.
of your doc checklist, or I'm just writing it down, I'll share it in the chat, or in the, the funds or financial, you can do one PDF, okay? You'll include the tuition fee calculator. You save that page as a PDF and you combine it with your other financial documents or with your cover letter where you say, like, this is the program I'm going to. It's a Bachelor of Arts. Sorry, did you say you were French?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So if you see the screen that I'm sharing, it's the fee calculator. I chose Bachelor of Arts. And for the residency, if you're French, you're going to click on non-Quebec Canadian. Okay. And you're going to search. And you're going to save this page. And basically, non-Quebec Canadians are tarif B, rate B. And it's 11,990.08. So you'll say that in your cover letter. You'll include this in your package of stuff that you upload to Immigration Canada.
Okay, so I click on non-Quebec citizen, not international.
For the residency, it's non-Quebec Canadian for French students. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And I have another question.
Yeah. And I'm just going to say, sorry, if anybody runs into an issue with their letter of acceptance, let's say Immigration Canada, they don't normally do this for other little things, but if there's an issue with the letter of acceptance, like they want to know the exact end date, and we don't have those on our letters, most of the time it's fine. But occasionally there are a handful of students where an agent wants to know. So if that happens to you, either with your CAQ application or your study permit application, where an immigration agent sends you a request saying, please send us like a new letter of acceptance that shows this and this, or, whatever that may be, contact us right away, say it's urgent, include a copy of the letter, and we'll, assist as quickly as we can. If that happens, it's still very rare. But if it happens, let us know right away. Sorry, Aude, you can continue.
It's okay. My other question was that my passport is going to expire when I'm gonna be studying at McGill. So my question is, do I have, when I'm doing another passport, do I have to do another application for the CAQ or the student permit?
So yeah, so normally what will happen is, like, when does your passport expire?
2027.
2027. So your CAQ, normally for an undergrad, you'll get the CAQ. Have you already applied for your CAQ?
I already have it, Sybil.
You already have it. And when does that expire? In 2029?
No, it expires, in 2029.
2029? Okay, perfect. So the CAQ, as you can see, the validity date, the expiry date is not impacted by your passport expiry date. But your study permit the end date is going to be impacted. So the study permit cannot be issued beyond the validity date of your current passport, unless they make a mistake. And so what you'll have to do is before your study permit expires, so make sure you take a really good note of the date, put it as a reminder in your calendar. Before it expires, a few months before it expires, you're going to apply to extend that study permit. You can do it from inside Canada. If it lines up with your summer vacation, let's say, it might be possible to do it from home. It depends. But you'll be able to do that. You just have to do it before it expires.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. But yes, you will need to extend your study permit. The CAQ, probably you won't need to. It'll be fine.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Chloe?
Yes. Hi.
Hi, Chloe.
So I'm applying for my study permit from the US, and on the online portal, I was noticing that there aren't there isn't a spot for me to upload the family information form, because when I look on the visa application guides, the PDF version, they say I need to fill out a 5707 form, but there is no place for me to upload it. And I was wondering if that was an issue on my end, or if I just attach it to the client information section.
Very good question. I want to say that for this particular thing, if it's not in your document checklist and you're applying from the US, it's probably okay. But it's true that even though there aren't really paper applications anymore for these things, when you get the paper document checklist, it might include more things. So if you wanted to be really safe, you could fill it out and just upload it in the client information form with a little cover letter that includes all that other information that we've been talking about. So like what program you're going into, when it starts, and then also just say, look, my document checklist didn't include a space to upload the 5707 form. I saw it in the checklist, like the PDF checklist on whatever web page. I wasn't sure if I should include it. So just to be safe, I filled it out and here it is.
Okay, yeah. I also so the same thing for like need like evidence of current activity was another thing that they said like on the PDF version, but there's also nowhere to upload it. So would I just do the same thing then for that as well?
So evidence of current activity, are you a US citizen?
I am. The example
You
gave
are?
is like if you finished your studies, yes. It said it wanted like diploma or something for undergraduate.
So like for you, in your IMM 1294 form that you have to fill out, there is an employment section where it says like current activity.
Okay.
So if you're not working and you're not in school right now, but did you just graduate like in May, June?
I did just graduate, but I also saw that as well, and I am working, but I'm not a salaried employee, so I thought it didn't apply to me.
No, I would put, if you're working right now, I would put that.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be salaried. Yeah, so you could put that. And I think it's sufficient to just put that in the 1294 form.
And then I don't need to submit anything extra.
I mean, I want to just quickly see what your checklist. I mean, we don't usually, I gotta say for the US, we don't usually look at that checklist, but let me just see. Study permit. So application, that for sure. So the 5707 doesn't appear in your checklist. Right. You could do it just in case. This one, you don't have to do if it's not applicable. You won't do the 5476. You won't do that one either. You won't have that, right? Because you're paying everything online. This is really like photocopy. Yeah. Support. Where do you see the current activity? I
It
don't
was
see
it was on not the checklist, but there was like a guide for study permits for like the immigration offices of like the ones in the US that they put out like additional information.
Okay, I mean, I know that on the IMM 1294 form, it'll say in the employment history part, it'll say like current activity. So if you're working now, I would just put that as your employment thing. And and this is for all the Americans out there, you do have and US permanent residents, you do have the option of applying in person at your port of entry. We have a special, like in our applying section of our guide, we do have a guide for US citizens and US permanent residents. Sorry, I just want to close that. And the benefit of doing it in person at a port of entry is just that you have no forms to fill out. So it's really just your letter of acceptance, your US passport, your CAQ, and the recent proof of financial capacity. It's pretty simple in terms of the documents you're bringing, but I do understand that, some folks really want to apply online, get that port of entry letter of, introduction, which is, an approval. of the application before you get to the border. So you can do it either way. I'm just reminding any American and US permanent residents out there that like you do have that option to apply without having to fill out all these forms. Do you
Okay.
have any other questions, Chloe?
Yeah, I did have one. I noticed on so my proof of financial support of my CAQ, which was approved, I realized it had a different like number for like the cost of living. I think it was like 13,000 or something, not like the 15,000 that you were saying before. And it still got approved. Can I submit those same documents without having to request a new like bank statement with everything calculated, or should that new like 15,000 number really be included in my study permit application?
Yeah, I don't know why they do that. It's Immigration Quebec. I know, like on their, it's like on their checklist, the figure that they're quoting is always lower than what's on their website, which I'm not sure why. Because if you go to the website, it says, you know, the following amounts are amounts that you must have, you know, between January 1st and December 31st, 2025. So like, I don't know why they quote that lower number. We always advise students that you should be able to show that 15,508 plus, you know, round trip travel and the $500 of settling in expenses. So ideally, that's what you should show. If you're not able to show that, but you are able to show, you know, the lower amount, then maybe just in your application, in your cover letter, maybe just refer to like quote that 13,000 and like refer to like, this is the amount indicated on my, you know, Immigration Quebec's document checklist. But to be really safe, I would say show that you can pay the 15,508 plus the others, plus the tuition and fees.
So, okay, that makes sense, but because also on the bank statement, it just gives like the total amount of like the account. And if that is like well more like enough to pay for the like the 15 without stating like it's sorry.
Okay,
The
so
bank account
if you,
says that I can pay for more than that. So does it matter if it says 13 or 15 on it?
where does 13, I'm just,
So like,
what are
sorry,
you,
I'm saying like on the letter that I have right now, like I said, it has the old 13 number from the CAQ, but
what letter,
also it's a bank
what letter are you talking about?
It's a letter from my bank. It's a bank
From your
statement
bank?
basically. And it says the amount in the account is like can cover more than the first year expenses, which I included with the 13,000 number from the from
So
applying
like
from the CAQ.
so in the letter from the bank, your bank has drafted a letter that says this person can pay, and they cite the 13,000 amount in there. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Right. I see your point. Okay. If the account, so like in your cover letter, you could explain, you have two options. Either you get the person at the bank to just slightly revise the letter and say, quote, the 15,508 or whatever. They should also indicate like what I'm assuming the letter also says like this person has these accounts and the balances are this, like some kind of confirmation of what the current balance is.
Yes.
So either you go with the old letter and in your cover letter, you just make it very clear that, look, I can pay for, and then you use the 15,508. And you can explain the discrepancy. You can say like, look, in the bank letter that I got from my bank, they were basing, you know, that number on, you know, the document checklist from Quebec that said that was the amount expected for cost of living. But as you can see from my recent bank statements, I have more than enough money in the account to pay for, you know, the 15,508 plus the 500 plus the tuition and fees. So you can explain that in your cover letter. So either you do like a little bit more explaining, which you'll have to kind of do a bit of explaining in the cover letter anyway, or, you know, you get a new revised letter. So you don't have to touch on the discrepancy there.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry, Chloe, it's a little bit.
No, you're good.
All right. Hélène?
Yeah, hi. Thank you for
Hi.
organizing this webinars. It's very
No
helpful.
worries.
I
Yes.
just have 3 different questions, quick questions,
Mhm.
actually. I'm a bit confused because apparently there are a few students from my son's schools that are applying to McGill and Concordia, and some of them are requested to provide a birth certificate and others aren't. And we come from France, and I'm not quite sure. Like the list, the check.
So your child, sorry, your child's citizenship is French?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, and your question is, does your child need to provide a birth certificate?
Exactly, for the study permit.
No, no, it's not a required document, but a passport is. So yeah, so the French passport should be fine. And yeah, I don't know.
Okay. And the second
Yeah.
question was
It could
regarding
be, I don't know for your other friends, like if their child doesn't have, like, let's say they have they're dual of like more than one place, and maybe they don't have a valid French passport right now, so they're applying with like a UK passport, but they want to benefit from the French tuition rate, so they have to show some other proof that they're French. That's my guess, but yeah.
I see. Okay, that makes sense. All right, that's possible indeed. The second question was regarding what you've mentioned before about the mandatory letter for work. So if he doesn't have that in his acceptance letter, that means it's not a requirement for his degree, correct?
So it probably wouldn't be in the acceptance letter. It would be a letter that he would have received from the faculty. So like, what's the program? What's your son's program?
It's BCom.
Yeah, my understanding is that there's no mandatory internship there. So he wouldn't have gotten a co-op work permit letter. Like most students who are in a program where every single person in that program is required to do an internship, where it's like it's really mandatory, they would have already received a co-op work permit letter from their department or from their faculty. So I don't think Commerce has a mandatory internship, and if he hasn't already received that co-op work permit letter, then very unlikely that there is a mandatory one. So he would just answer no to that question that asks, is work an essential component of your program? You would say no.
Okay, no, and but he's allowed to, as an international, as a French citizen, international student, he's allowed to work on campus, nonetheless.
Right. So I mean, I always say it with like a caveat because as long as he's meeting the conditions. So, and I'm just going to put them here because it's kind of interesting stuff to know. That's for on-campus work. I just put that there, and yeah, and then off-campus. I mean, it's always have to be really mindful of, the limits of off-campus work are really important to be aware of. And I'm also going to put, because it's better to know them before you do something wrong, which sometimes happens, unfortunately. And I'll just put the link here for our webpage. And then also really important, this page is good for all students and their parents to read the immigration obligations. And one of them is about like being full-time and also like if they suddenly, there are reasons why a student might suddenly have to not be full-time. It could be a personal reason, health reason, like there's so many different reasons that could happen to a student. But to be aware that, let's say a student is forced to kind of withdraw from a class and now they're only attempting 9 credits. As of that date that they're only attempting 9 credits, they cannot work at all. So let's say they have a part-time job and suddenly they're at 9 credits, can't do it anymore. Stop. Not even like an hour a day, just really, really stop working. But anyways, you look at that in your own time, but it's good to know. Do you have another question, Hélène, or?
Yeah, one last question concerning his letter of acceptance. There's and I'm not sure you're the right person to address it to, or should I? It states on there that he needs to the offer of admission remains valid provided you generally maintain your current level of academic achievement and obtain the French baccalaureate diploma in the premier group. And
it should be
I just
fine.
want to specify
so, yeah,
that I fully understand what that means.
Yeah, we've seen this on several admission letters for French students. I think it's just standard thing that McGill writes, and I think it's probably other students who are in high school too. It's kind of like, yes, you know, you're admitted, but like ultimately you have to show us proof that you graduated from high school in order for this to be, you know, a valid admission letter. But you should still be able to use it to apply for your study permit. It's not conditional in the sense of like,
You
it's
don't
not
have
a
to have a
conditional, it's
specific.
not a conditional offer. Have we sometimes seen, I think I've seen one student where an immigration agent, I think it was Quebec, had questions about that, or maybe gave them like a reduced CAQ validity. So, you know, if you apply for the CAQ and you get like a 1-year CAQ or a 7-month CAQ, you know, contact us right away, or actually even contact Immigration Quebec first to like ask like, why did I only get a 7-month CAQ? But it shouldn't be an issue. Like most students, you know, that's just standard writing on those admission letters, and usually it's not an issue.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. And before I lose anyone, I just want to say that if anybody here has sent a request for information to our inbox or whatever, I can't remember now if we're just like deleting them, just everybody's if they registered for this session, but darn it, I should have asked. I was going to say then if your question has been answered, you can just tell us that, you know, we don't need to answer your RFI anymore. But now I'm thinking maybe they're already getting deleted. So I don't remember what the messaging was when you registered. If when you registered, the auto reply was that we were going to be deleting your RFI, just take note of that. And like if for whatever reason your question wasn't answered today, you can you know, send us another request. Eric?
Hi, yeah, thank you. Just 2 quick questions. So my daughter is going into a bachelor in September, in August. We have dual citizenship, French and US. So I guess my question is, what is we live in the US right now. So my question was, what's the best course of action in terms of what citizenship to choose when applying for the CAQ and the work permit? Does that matter, or
CAQ and the study permit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Should we apply with our French passport or US passport?
Right. So for the CAQ, you can just apply with the French passport. At least that will show that you benefit from reduced tuition. Okay.
Right.
And then when you're applying for the study permit, if you apply at your port of entry, I would just travel with both passports because the US passport allows your child to apply in person at a port of entry.
Right.
And the French passport shows that they benefit from a reduced tuition rate. So I would travel with both. If you want to apply online have you applied for the CAQ yet or no?
No. We just
Okay. So I would say, like, given, you know, if you haven't applied for the CAQ yet, let's say it takes, you know, 5 to 8 weeks. At that point, when it's approved, you might want to just apply in person at your POE, depending on the processing times for the US. I don't know if it's still at 5 weeks, but it, you know, if you apply online, if you apply online, I would just maybe, if you're applying from the US, I would maybe just upload the US passport in the passport section of the document checklist, but then in the client information optional section, I would include that little cover letter where you explain, like, I'm a dual US French citizen. I'm attaching proof of my French citizenship to show that I benefit from the reduced rate of tuition, which is X for French citizens. Like, you know, just explain it there.
Okay, but the CAQ, no matter what, the French passport.
The CAQ, you can just use the French passport. Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome, Eric. Andrea?
Yeah, hello, Nicole. Thank you for this
Hello,
space.
no worries.
Well, I already have my CIQ, but I'm in the process of completing the forms for the study permit, and I'm a bit confused with some of the forms specifically with the form 129A, the one that we fill from applying from outside Canada.
1294. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one. Well, I'm a graduate student with funding from my faculty, so I was wondering what to put when they ask about the cost of our studies. Do we have to reply considering the full price or the year cost? That's one question, and I have another one.
So you should put the tuition and fees for your first year and your living expenses for your first year.
Okay.
And then in a cover letter, you explain, how you're paying for that. So for example, I'm getting departmental funding of this amount. This is what the tuition and fees are for my program, but with the funding, it's going to cover all of my tuition and fees plus all of my living expenses, whatever it is. And then in addition, so you'll have your letter of acceptance, you'll have your cover letter, and you'll have some kind of departmental letter that confirms, what the funding is.
Yeah, and I should merge all these documents in one PDF, right?
So the 1294 form is in its own section in the document checklist, but then, explanatory documents can be, in one PDF in the client information form. Some students might put them, if it's all kind of financial related, you might put all of that in the financial place. It doesn't, there's no hard rule for that one.
Okay, yeah. And one last question is, well, I have two extra questions about this form. They also ask us about room and board, others, and then funds available for my stay. So
Yeah.
I'm a bit confused about this. I know you have some explanation there in the webpage, but I was
Yeah.
wondering if the funds available for my stay should correspond to the funds I am putting in my.
It should be at least or more than the sum of the costs of your first year of studies. So, if your tuition and fees are like 20,000, are you a PhD student or?
Yeah, PhD student.
Yeah, PhD. So let's say your tuition and fees are 22,000 and living is 15, 32 plus 5, 37. Let's say, I don't know, 40,000 and then, round trip airfare, whatever. And your funding is like 45,000 for your first year, right? So as long as that number is more than the sum of what the first year costs, then you can put that. I guess sometimes with grad students, like you have like guaranteed funding for X amount of years. Like I know some letters I saw say like this student has a funding package of like $200,000. You could put that and then you explain it in your cover letter. Sometimes people have a combination of like departmental funding and personal savings. So you can add all of that in the funds available, but just as long as it's at least equal to or greater than, ideally a little bit greater than the actual cost of your first year of studies, normally that's what they're looking for.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And just the last question is, when they ask me who's the responsible of my expenses in Canada, should I put
myself? You're going to put myself.
Okay.
Usually because the funds are going to you. I'm pretty sure that's I think those funds are transferred to you and then you pay normally. I think if you put other and then you explain it in your cover letter, it should be fine too for the study permit application. But often we say to just put myself and then you explain.
Okay.
But others should work as well.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. I see there's like a bunch of hands up and I want to try to get to everybody. So what I'll say is I'll go to like 11:40. So an extra 10 minutes and I'll try to I'm sorry to just move it a little bit faster. So I'll go to Francia or Constance. I can't see the whole name there.
Yes,
Constance.
sorry,
Constance. Okay.
Hello, thank you for taking the time. I'm sorry, maybe the question has already been asked. I came a little late to the meeting. I had a problem with my CAQ, and I realized it only today. I reapplied for the CAQ just an hour ago, and I'm a bit stressed. Do you think it will still work with the
So
delay?
why did you reapply?
Because I unfortunately I hadn't uploaded all the documents. I
Okay.
thought I've done it in May, beginning of May, and as I haven't heard back from Quebec since, I looked it up and I saw that nothing has moved, so I've done it all again.
Did you call them and they told you to reapply?
Yes.
Okay, you called them and they told you to reapply. Okay, and now you're concerned about the time?
Yes, because
Okay.
well, my plane leaves on the 24th of August, and maybe it's not the place to for this kind of question, but I'm quite stressed. Do you think it will still work?
So like, do I think you're gonna get your study permit approved before August 24th?
Yes.
So we're June 19th. Let's say it takes a little over a month. So that's like July. I mean, I don't know how long the CEQ is going to take. Hopefully everything's going to be there this time and you won't have any delays. You could get it by the end of July, hopefully. And then it's right? They're saying 5 weeks now, right? I mean, it could change. I don't know. France, are you French? Sorry. I'm
Yes,
assuming things,
the
but yes,
accent.
okay. I'm sorry. Hopefully it'll be fast. Who knows if times will go up or down? Maybe they could go down. I would say, as I mentioned to people before, in case you missed that, is we don't recommend that students try to travel here before their study permit application has been approved.
All right.
We
And
really don't,
what should
even
I
if you're
do?
able to board a plane, we don't recommend it. And I think I put them, I'll just put it again, but basically, if you scroll up in the chat, you can find, or you can find there's like a YouTube video of our presentation.
Yeah, all right.
You see that there? But it's also in the programs and events because there are risks. I mean, we've had this happened a few years ago, but we had a French couple. They came with their son. The son did not have his study permit approved yet. The parents were able to enter Canada, and the son was sent right back home. Did not exit the airport. So we really don't recommend that you do that. Even if you're allowed to enter, you're not authorized to start studying, and then you still have to leave and re-enter in order to get that permit actually issued to you, even if it's approved while you're here. So I would say you might get it, you might not get it on time. And then the question is, how late can you join your program? If you're in a grad program, sometimes there's a little bit more flexibility in terms of the start date. I would reach out to your department to find out. If you're an undergrad, tell me.
I will be an exchange student.
Exchange student, okay.
For a year only, and in the BLG, law department.
Okay, and it's a 1-year exchange?
Yes.
Right, so you need that study permit. Yeah, again, I don't recommend that you come early. So then it really becomes a question of hopefully you get your documents on time. And if it looks like you might not, to really reach out to that faculty to find out what your options are. What's the deadline?
Right.
What's the deadline to defer, and how late can you arrive, and that kind of stuff.
All right.
And pay attention to the key dates. What's the deadline to get a refund? I guess you don't have a refund because you're paying your home institution. I mean, I don't know. It might be different than maybe you have to pay attention to your home. I don't know with the exchange in terms of like getting a refund of fees because you're not paying tuition to McGill. I don't imagine if you're an exchange student. But yes, unfortunately, I can't predict. I'm going to move on to number 2, and then if I have time, I can answer another one. Okay?
Right.
Constance?
No, that's it. That's the only question I had. Thank you for your time, and
You're
thank you
so
for
welcome,
listening.
Constance. Yes. Okay. I'm hoping for the best for everybody that times improve. Victoria?
Hi. So
Hi.
I'm an American student, and I will be going to McGill's undergrad next year. And my CAQ, so I thought I had submitted it like 2 months ago, but then I got a letter from them saying they hadn't received anything. And I went back and I realized that like I had all the documents in there, but there was some part missing. So I believe I have successfully done it because it showed me like, oh, your documents have been submitted now. But that was
Okay.
yesterday.
Okay.
So now I'm a little behind schedule because I meant to do that like 2 months ago. So
Yeah.
I don't really know if I should apply for a study permit online or at the border, because I'm thinking at the border would probably be better now.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends when you get your CAQ approved, right? So that's the first question, and you can kind of make that decision when you get it approved. I would say a lot of Americans apply at the port of entry without issue. So
Okay, good. Okay.
it should be, I would say the one category of students where even though they're late with the CAQ and, you're probably going to be okay, because even if it takes 2 months for that application to be approved from now, you still probably will get that CAQ before classes start. And then you just, come to the border with, I'm just going to link it here, but our little guide here for US citizens. So yes, you could do it online, but given that you probably won't get it in time to, I don't know, I can't say how fast it would take for you to get an online approval.
Okay. And
But
then
you should,
my second
Mhm.
sorry, my second question is just on my financial evidence. I don't know if we put enough, because like I have enough money for my first year and for the cost of living and the travel expenses, but we only showed a bank statement of 35,000, and I don't know if that's enough for them to be
So they
happy with that.
really want to see that you have enough to pay for your first year of studies, all the tuition and fees for year one, plus your living expenses, plus your round trip travel, plus the 500. And if you're an American, even if you're in the cheapest program here, I don't think that's enough. So what will happen likely with the CAQ is you'll get what's called an intention to refuse letter, saying you need to show us more proof of financial capacity. If you get that letter, send us a request for information, attach the intention to refuse letter, attach as like one PDF the financial stuff that you did include, plus let us know what program you've been admitted to, so that then we can have an appointment and advise you what to include. If you get that letter, ideally you show, I don't know, multiple accounts where you have more money that shows that yes, you can pay for your entire first year. If you don't have all that money like actively in accounts, but let's say parents are employed, and it's clear that like from their salary, from their recent pay stubs, that they can pay for you, that's a way to kind of complement or supplement bank statements. So depending on what happens, just reach out to us and let us know. It's too late now to like add anything extra. You have to wait. Either your CAQ is going to be approved or you're going to get an intention to refuse letter asking you for more stuff. Okay, so just reach out to us if that happens.
Okay, thank you.
And then when you come to the border, if you come to the border, make sure you have more, that you can show more than just that. So some things that can be helpful are like, let's say your parents are employed, a recent employment letter, plus their 3 to 4 most recent pay stubs, plus like their W-2 from the last year that shows like the income that they earned that year, that type of thing. College savings account, like a 529 college savings account. I think that should work for IRCC, for Immigration Canada, for like the border officer, CBSA. Sometimes Immigration Quebec, they gave one of our students a hard time with a college savings account, but it's weird because that hasn't normally caused any issues. So let us know if you run into problems, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome, Victoria. Vanshika?
Hey, so I had a few questions. I've received my study permit and my first day of school is July 14th, but my visa is only valid until December of this year. So I would have to apply for an extension once I'm inside. Or can that cause any problems at the border?
So is that because when you applied for your study permit, what is your passport expiring in December?
No, not my passport, but the visa, the ETA that I received, like that's valid only.
The
The
TRV in
TRV.
your passport,
Yes.
but the study permit, so like, did you get a port of entry letter of introduction?
Yes, that's also valid until December 31st
And
of
how
this
about
year.
your CAQ?
So my CAQ was also valid until then, but then I applied for a new CAQ. So I had to defer my admission. Initially, I was going to come in last year, but then I never received my visa. So I had to defer my admission to this year. And so my CAQ technically expired because it was 2 semesters. It was after 2 semesters. So I received a new CAQ. I just want to make sure that I'm good to travel.
You know, Vanshika, just because I wanted to rush through these questions, I would like you to send a request for information and just, can you put a copy of your port of entry of introduction letter and a copy of like the CAQ you used to apply for it and your TRV and your new CAQ? Can you put all of that in the attach that to the request? And just
Okay,
ask like, am I going to have any issues? It might require some explaining, but I just want you to just yeah, send those things to us, okay?
Do I need a minimum account balance when I'm traveling?
When you're traveling, it's always good to travel with recent proof of financial capacity. You may not be asked to show it if you already have that approval, but an officer might ask to see it. So bring some recent proof of financial capacity.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right. Oliver?
Hi, thank you, and thank you for staying on a little bit longer. I joined a little late. I'm really sorry about that.
No worries.
I have been trying to apply for the study permit. I have the CAQ. I've been trying to apply for the study permit for a few weeks, and I keep trying, and it keeps giving me an error on the Canada website. I've gone through every possible thing that they suggest. It still doesn't work. I am a U.S. citizen.
Yeah.
Should I just try to do it at the port of entry, or is there maybe some chance that there's some issue that would also happen at the port of entry?
Normally, if all of your documents are in order, so like you've got the letter of acceptance, you have a valid CAQ, you have proof of financial capacity that you can pay for your first year of studies, normally you should be okay. But like I said, you know, some people want that peace of mind that like it's all approved before I get there. What you could do is maybe if you, I don't want to say you'll be fine at the port of entry, but like really, I would say the large majority of our American students just apply at the POE and we don't normally hear of any problems. So if you wanted to simplify your life, like you could do it at the POE. If you want to like send us the error message that you're getting and like maybe send us a copy of the 1294 form. I don't know if sometimes it's related. If you send us those two things.
It was uploading the 1294 form that I got the error messages.
Yeah.
It's that form that doesn't want to work for me.
It's the 1294 form that's not working. Is that what you're saying?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, so if you send the screenshot of the error message and a copy of the form, like let us look at that and maybe we'll have some ideas on how to deal with that.
Okay, I will.
And maybe
Thank
let
you
us
so much.
know how you did it. Like, did you use a Mac? Did you use a PC? Maybe you've tried everything. Just let us know kind of the different things you've tried.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
All right. Okay, bye-bye. I'm gonna do Safia and then I'll go back to Mia and then back to Victoria if you have another question, unless your hand is just up, but you're good. So Safia.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. So my study permit actually got approved, I think 2 weeks ago. And then so I
Okay.
submitted my passport and then I got my passport back as well a week ago with the visa. However, I haven't gotten, I
Perfect.
think it's the letter of introduction. And I'm just wondering, like, is that normal? Like, does it usually take more than a week or would there be some kind of issue?
Good question. There might be a little delay. So when you log into your IRCC account, there's no letter of introduction there.
There's no letter of introduction.
There's no letter of introduction there. What you could do is write to IRCC through their web form, just if you know, to just kind of do it now. just to see if that's normal and if you should be getting an answer soon. But if it's
Okay.
possible that there's a little bit of a delay,
Mm-hmm.
let me just put update or ask about your application. Maybe what you could do is do the one where it says update or ask about your application and add a document. So I'm
Okay.
going to send you the link for that, because then
Okay,
you'll
great.
write a little cover letter, and then
Mm-hmm.
you'll upload like a copy of the TRV that you got, like a picture of your passport, like with the TRV in it, and also like a screenshot of or save as a PDF your IRCC account where like it shows like the approval written there.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You know what I mean? But say like I still haven't gotten the POE letter. Is this normal? Like when should I expect to get it? If you know, what do I do if I haven't received it within the next 2 weeks? You can ask them those questions and see, and then follow up with us. Let us know what happened either way, if you don't mind.
Okay, great.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
And I also just wanted to ask, like, it's not possible to travel without it, right?
No, I wouldn't do that. When are you starting in August?
No, I'm starting in July, actually. That's why.
July. Okay, that's what you're asking. Safia, so send the IRCC web form, and then
Okay.
maybe send us a request. Just say hi. Like I spoke to, I was in the virtual drop-in advising with Nicole. I sent the IRCC a question, but like my program starts July 14th. I'm planning to travel on X date. Like, but
Okay.
you really should have that letter. So I'm just not sure why. But send me like a screenshot of your
For sure.
your IRCC
Okay.
secure account in the different places that it says it's approved.
Okay, great. I actually applied through IRCC portal. I don't know if that would make a difference, but
Yeah, I mean, just send it anyway.
okay,
And
great.
yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. And Mia, last but not least.
Hi again.
Hi.
So I was wondering, on my student study permit application, there isn't like a space to upload certain documents that are listed on the document checklist. So for example, there's like that like the family information document form or whatever. But there's not like a designated space where I can upload that. And then also it says to upload the document checklist with your application, and there's no space for that either.
Yeah, so anything that doesn't fit there, but again, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like the IRCC has not cleaned up their stuff. I don't think that they actually necessarily want everything that's listed on that checklist, but to be safe, I would do it and upload everything that doesn't fit in the regular sections as one PDF in the client information section of your document checklist.
Okay. And then
Okay.
also for their thing about the photos, it says, should I get a passport photo taken and then upload a PDF with 2 of those photos?
No, see, like if you look at your regular document checklist, there's a space for photo, right?
Yes.
And then you click on the question mark and it has details about what that photo needs to, like what criteria it needs to respect.
Yes.
Yes. So just do that. Don't worry about the other 2 that are on the checklist.
Okay.
I think
sounds
the
good.
checklist is really for, I think it was, and I think there are exceptions where they allow a paper application. There was a time where students could apply by paper or they could apply online. And now really everyone is expected to apply online unless they meet an exemption. So my feeling is that checklist is like really more for people who are applying by paper, but it doesn't apply to you really. But anyways, to be safe, like upload the 5707 form, but you don't need to upload like 2 other pictures or anything like that.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, everybody. So thanks for hanging in there. Those of you who are still around, again, like if you have a burning question, don't hesitate to reach out. I don't know if there are other, let me just quickly double check if there's any other drop-in for the upcoming for new students. There's one on Thursday, July 3rd. So if you have new questions between now and then, you can register for that one. So anyways, good luck everybody with everything. And thanks so much for being so attentive. Bye-bye.